Alrighty then. Welcome to a fourth installment of this Turn 4 Sparks Controversy podcast. At the time of this recording, it is February 9th, 2024. And like in the episode where I was doing the F1 2023 season recap, two people who are in that particular episode I have on as we speak. Dave
Yo.
and Brandon.
Hello.
So first things first. Dave, you showed me a list on things to discuss of this particular
Yes.
episode. One of them being where the Spanish Grand Prix will be held on a street circuit.
Right. Right. But
That
we'll
has to
get
be one
there
of the
later.
dumbest ideas I've ever heard of.
We'll get there, but let's start with the biggest shocker that has happened recently. Who didn't know, or you've been living on a rock? Lewis Hamilton will be joining Ferrari in 2025.
At first, before it became official, when I saw the rumors on that, I said to myself, Dave, I think I can mention this to you. What are the chances this is just rumors flying again? Because this is not the first time this has happened.
I mean, these rumors have been speculating for like years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
This one was different because, okay, well, you showed me like once as like it's like somewhat confirmed as like, okay, that's one. But then you keep seeing from other articles or other reputable sources like Autosport, Motorsport. I was like, all right, hold on, something's not right. Even though they are reputable, I still don't believe it till the official F1 like actually confirms it. And it wasn't until like hours later they finally, well, first they did confirm that Lewis was leaving Mercedes at the end of this year, and then also confirmed that he will be joining Ferrari. Brandon, what are your thoughts?
I want to start off by saying thank you to the people who that day were absolutely spamming my direct messages. But I think it was a huge move, and it's going to take a while for a lot of people to adapt to. Lewis has been with Mercedes. I also want to point out, in his entire F1 career, including his days with McLaren, he's always been on Mercedes. He's driven a Mercedes-powered McLaren, and then he jumps to the Mercedes official F1 team, and now he's jumping ship to Ferrari. An argument I heard that Hamilton himself spoke about, he said all the drivers that you've battled before got to drive for Ferrari, like Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, and his manager even said, what would be your career, or what would your career be like if you never got to drive for Ferrari, sorry.
Well, and also, in a way, Hamilton, he was also sponsored by Mercedes since he was in karting. It goes a little bit further back.
Yeah, I wonder how the paddock's going to be now in 2024, every single race weekend from now on. I wonder what the relationship is going to be like. I mean, we know they're going to have to keep it professional and stuff like that, but
oh yeah, but it's only
come Abu
like
Dhabi, it's going to be a very awkward race. Now, I'm sure Hamilton's going to have some sort of tribute helmet, or maybe even tribute livery going into Abu Dhabi, but
oh, of course,
you never know. But let's also keep in mind, I want to point this out too, it's not a one-year thing. This is a multi-year deal. So it also raises the question, like, is Hamilton going to end his career at Ferrari, which is highly likely
at this point?
Well, there was also sources that said Hamilton didn't like. Of course, he only got the 1+1, but I think he wanted a longer extension. But I guess that was going to be talks further down. But also he was he wanted to be an ambassador for Mercedes, but the higher ups said no, which because if it wasn't for like Niki Lauda, Hamilton wouldn't have been there because he was an ambassador for
Going back
Mercedes.
to 2013 too, there were rumors that he was even going to join Red Bull.
I've heard about that rumor.
I mean, that was another rumor, but of course, they Christian Horner said no.
There was
Pretty
even a
much.
rumor that Lewis was, instead of going to McLaren, there was rumors going around when before 2007 or right when 2007 hit that he was jumping ship instead of to McLaren. Hear me out. There was rumors that he was going to Williams. Would you believe it?
That I wouldn't believe at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be on
because
this
I
one.
know. I mean that's like a monumental challenge. At least like when he did the first time jumping ship from McLaren to Mercedes. At least Mercedes did get a few wins. That, well, of course, that's mostly Rosberg.
I was about to say Rosberg won the most races in
Yes.
the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much slightly similar. That dominant team, of course, Red Bull, still at this time, almost like Vettel.
Recently,
But
back in the
another
dominant
team,
ways, you mean?
yeah, but a team like Ferrari is pretty much right there, getting, they only had one win last year, but they were, mostly Leclerc was getting, some poles here and there, but they were there when they can.
They showed signs of speed in qualifying and to an extent the race itself when the strategy is right, that is. We're going in Ferrari, at least.
Yeah, we all know how Ferrari's strategy is, so.
Which, with Hamilton going over to Ferrari, that worries me. Because I don't know how
Especially, like,
the strategy
how
will play
much is
out.
he going to tolerate until, like, he puts his foot down if something happens, but you know what I mean?
I mean, we'll have to see how
But
he
at the
is.
same time, too, this
next-
is not until 2025,
Right.
and it's going to take a while, and he still has work that needs to be done with Mercedes, but do I think he's going to achieve anything? I mean, maybe he might end up winning a couple races with Ferrari, but I don't know if he's. I'm sorry, but I don't know if he's going to get that 8th world championship.
I mean, we won't know till probably 2026 because remember, for 2013,
There's a
he would get
regulation
races
change in
here and there,
2026 as well, too.
but it wasn't until the rule change is when everything came together. But we don't know if this will be the same or he made a bad call for the first time.
What you're saying is we're going into the unknown.
I mean, almost, well, I wouldn't say, well, almost every year is pretty much the unknown because whoever thought that Aston Martin would be really good last season?
I didn't. Did you?
Well,
Aston Martin was definitely a surprise. I mean, right out of the gate. I remember I was at the touring kart race in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, and me and Alex Smith, we were watching it on his phone. And, I saw the first couple laps, how fast Aston Martin was. I'm wondering, like, okay, is he going to, like, maybe get top 5 or something, or maybe 4th place? But then as time went on, and I see Alonso's still in 3rd, I know we mentioned last time we were here, we mentioned the progress that Aston Martin has made, and we talked about their current drivers, which is Alonso and Lance Stroll. We talked about how inconsistent Lance Stroll is, and we talked about how consistent Fernando Alonso is. Like, Fernando Alonso, you have him, he's almost like Tom Brady in a way. For those of you that watch football, he is like 40, but he still believes he's 20 in his head, kind of. So,
I mean, he has proven that he definitely shows that he's still pretty quick. But with Aston Martin, they produced a really good car last year, but the
yeah, but they
problem
didn't
is they
expect
didn't.
all the other teams to start modifying their cars in the middle of the season. Like you have Mercedes who changed their entire car's shape in the middle of the season, and
Right.
then you have the resurgence of McLaren that took place as well.
Oh, that was a bigger surprise because they were like towards the bottom because
Yeah,
they were completely wrong.
yeah, almost like 2020 and 2021. You know, they show up. Well, I can't say show up to Bahrain for 2020 because we know what happened. But beginning of the season, they have a okay-ish car. At worst, they'll have like a midfield car, but then all of a sudden, towards the end of the year, they start like getting podiums left and right. Like for a while, the podiums were just Max and the two McLarens for a little while as well. Calvin, another thing I want to mention too. We can either go into one of the two things: Cadillac and Andretti getting rejected, or a couple hours ago, Visa Cash App Red Bull revealed their livery.
You might as well just name it. You might as well just name that to Toro Rosso, considering.
Oh yeah, I'm still calling it Toro Rosso.
Me too.
Well, we will get there, but along with the Hamilton and Ferrari, the other question is, who do you think is most likely going to replace him?
That's what I was about to ask.
Well, I think this is still going to be up to debate, and we're still very far out. You know, I mean,
this could be.
We could dive into the F2 category, but unfortunately, F1 teams aren't interested in F2 drivers anymore.
They do have a handful. Total Wolf said they were going to make a bold decision. Don't know what exactly that means. So there could be. Well, we do know that Albon, he just extended his contract at Williams, so he's out. There's Ocon. I'm pretty sure
Ocon has relations with Mercedes, so
and also I'm pretty sure he's still managed by Toto.
He is.
There's also Mick Schumacher, but
it's a bit of a risk to go with him.
Again, he still needs more experience because
unfortunately, though, he was shafted by Haas, and Mick Schumacher joined Haas at like the worst possible time too. So he really couldn't have time to develop as a driver because you have 1 year where your team doesn't even put in the effort to build a car, and then the next year you have a inconsistent midfield car.
And also, he didn't have the best. Well, he didn't have a consistent teammate either.
Yeah, until 2022.
Well,
because in Bahrain of 2022, Haas was actually looking pretty fast once they shafted you know who.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like yesterday we were dealing with Mazepin, and now we're entering 2024.
But there's also a couple other names. Of course, Kimi Antonelli is also another name, but I think that's also another risk, which I don't see that happening because he's just about to, he's going to completely go past Formula 3 and go right to Formula 2. So, and of course, Mercedes is not known for bringing drivers from lower categories into a top team. They usually, for Toto, they usually go to like Williams or another Mercedes powered to see how they are.
And then they decide if they get the chance. Like the last time Mercedes actually bought up a driver, excluding George Russell too, was Valtteri Bottas all the way back in 2017, and it was at the shock retirement of Nico Rosberg.
I mean, originally Bottas was supposed to be with Williams up until 2018, if I'm not mistaken, but we're shafting in Mercedes. jumped ship to Mercedes at the last minute with the announcement of Nico retiring. And because of that, that brought Felipe Massa back behind the wheel for one more season. But that's
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
story for another
he
time.
retired twice.
Yes, basically. Which is again a story for another time when we discuss the 2017 season at some point.
That
And
was the first season I watched F1 too.
the whole season?
Like the whole season. I've seen like races before, but like I wouldn't consider myself a fan until like 2017. So
What? So Australia then was your first race that you watched.
it was actually Spa to be more certain. Younger me didn't feel like waking up on the weekend, so I would just catch race highlights every time. But
That was
I
me
one
too.
day decided to just I one day just decided to watch Spa.
Live.
Yeah, live. Um,
That was
but
when Lewis Hamilton won.
yeah, sorry to also change the subject again, but gentlemen, I know somebody who they could put in that Mercedes car. People might call me biased for this, but I think Colton Herta is
Oh,
worth a shot.
Rice.
That
Oh, that name hasn't. I mean, that hasn't.
all right? You know
That
what?
name hasn't come up since Red Bull.
I know this podcast is about sparking controversy, so you know what? I'm gonna do it. I say they give Colton Herta a chance in Mercedes. Colton Herta has been with many different F1 drivers in the rankings before. And he's been
Right, but does he have enough to get a super license?
he doesn't have enough points to get a super license.
Well,
That's the thing. But we
that's
all
the
know
thing.
Colton Herta has the talent to be in F1, and he's proven many times before that he could stay within the ranks of drivers such as Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso. I mean, hell, he's just coming off his podium in the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona too. So,
Well, we have seen that it doesn't always take talent to be an F1.
Exactly. And just because you're
unfortunately,
talented in other series doesn't mean it's going to carry over into F1. Because we've seen it happen
Nope.
numerous times. I can remember one
but then
driver
again, though,
specifically.
Colton Herta has done testing sessions for McLaren too, so he knows how to drive an F1 car. And not to mention, he admitted that driving an Indy car is harder than driving an F1 car because IndyCar does not have power steering. Little fun fact: IndyCar also doesn't have tire blankets like an F1. So when you go out in a practice or qualifying session, those tires are stone cold.
Of course, the FIA is and probably F1 is planning to get rid of the tire blankets, but of course, teams and drivers are against it.
I mean, I guess it makes sense.
We'll just have to wait and see till when it actually happens.
Now,
But the other two names, they're also there's also Carlos Sainz, since he doesn't have a drive after this season, so
We're probably going to end up getting the most boring timeline, and that means Carlos Sainz will probably just go to Mercedes.
right. I mean, but there's also Fernando Alonso. He's known for breaking contracts.
because it's happened numerous times.
I think Alonso at Mercedes would be an absolute dream, especially if Mercedes all of a sudden has a breakout season. He starts winning races again. I think I've said this before all the way back in 2021. Calvin can back me up when I say this. I think Fernando Alonso is going to get one last win, at least before he retires.
You did say that, yes. And you still
I mean,
stand
he
by
has to
that.
get at least another win. I mean, we all thought he was going to at least maybe have one or two last season, since he was consistently on the podium till after midseason. I've seen most people said they most likely see Alonso, which that would be pretty nice. But again, then there's one last name. But before I say that, there's also saying that if Alonso were to go there, that would be, a little temporary for Antonelli when he's ready, probably after doing a few seasons when he gets to F1, probably Williams. But again, we don't know who will take that seat yet. And the final name, Calvin, I'm not sure if you've seen this yet, but I've heard a lot of rumors that a German that could come out of retirement.
Sebastian Vettel.
Yes.
I mean, I've heard speculations that he might even try something with Audi come 2026. I'm not really sure though if it's gonna happen because I don't know if Sebastian Vettel's interested in racing anymore. I mean, he still will make videos with Red Bull of him driving like his old cars and stuff like that that won him championships. I mean, just a little while ago, he converted the RB7 to drive on alternative fuel, and he drove around the Nürburgring.
The old Nürburgring circuit, that is, the Nordschleife.
Yeah, the Nordschleifer.
But again, until, we don't have to wait and see when that actually happens. All right, on to the next one. Now let's talk about the other shocker that pretty much got overshadowed, the rejection of Andretti.
Brandon, you mentioned that.
Yo, don't even get me started on that. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh no, we're getting into it.
Right here, right now. And I want to hear your take on it, Brandon.
You want to start with me?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's absolutely ridiculous that F1 wants to go for a major expansion in the United States, but when the most valued... Now, you can make the argument that Andretti is actually Italian, but Andretti is one of the most prized names in the United States when it comes to motorsport, and they said just Andretti wasn't enough to race in F1, so Andretti said, let me go over to Cadillac, see if we could get something done. Cadillac said they were interested because Cadillac's also trying to change their brand name with that, especially the progress that they've been making in the hypercar category in IMSA and WEC. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that they reject them, saying that they wouldn't do anything, but then you have teams like Haas and Williams.
Well, especially Haas, even though, reason why like Gunther Steiner got fired is because Gene Haas didn't want to invest more into it and just use the resources they have, while all the other teams are investing and improving their facilities.
Pretty much. I mean, I still think it's absolutely ridiculous because considering if a circuit wants to hold an F1 race, which is grade A FIA, the pit garage, there must at least be 12 garages, look it up, which means they have space for an 11th team, and it's just teams not wanting to split all the like prize money towards the end of the season.
Right.
I think Andretti still would have at least been a good idea, especially with all the teams that suddenly want to join F1. I mean, we have Sauber, Stake F1 team. I'm just going to call it Sauber for my own convenience.
Oh, no, me too.
You have Sauber that's eventually going to be Audi in 2026. There were the rumors of Porsche and Lamborghini joining F1, but I personally don't think they're going to happen.
You mean joining F1 in the case of Lamborghini?
Pretty much, you can make the argument because Lamborghini was an engine supplier. A lot of people don't know this, but Subaru was an engine supplier. I thought I'd just throw that out there. But I think seeing that lime green Lamborghini would actually be pretty cool. I will admit, especially on the F1 grid.
Well, on the F1 grid, you won't be seeing the Andretti name anytime soon because, again, the rejection.
I mean, if I were in the Andretti's position right now, instead of Cadillac Andretti, you could probably just be Cadillac. Maybe leave it at that. See if that gets you anywhere. But I personally don't think the FIA is going to budge. You have Cadillac that said they wanted to be an engine supplier by 2026 because Ford is eventually going to be a engine supplier. And if you're American, you know the battle between Ford and General Motors has been going on for over 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
Forever, basically.
Whether it's on the roads or on the racetrack, I mean, they've been battling for years.
For a very long time.
But
For a very long
yeah,
and the
very
movie even
long time.
showcased it back in 2019. Ford versus Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
Classic movie, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
Even though it was released
they've
5
mentioned
years ago, but
General
still,
Motors
banger
a couple
movie.
times. Yeah, they mentioned Chevy a couple times. I mean, hey, Carroll Shelby was actually rejected by Chevrolet, so thought I'd mention that.
Damn, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's a little fun fact that we're also going to throw here in this podcast too.
Now,
But
we
so
mentioned
far-
the Andretti rejection. Go ahead, Brandon.
I was pretty much going to say something similar to what you were mentioning. We mentioned the Andretti rejection, the Hamilton Ferrari thing, and we mentioned
And who's likely to replace Hamilton?
We mentioned the Visa Cash App Red Bull.
Toro
livery,
Rosso, you
which I
mean?
think is a- Yes, Toro
Keep it
Rosso.
short and simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Or
don't
you,
think,
or you can go to the short version, the V carb or whatever.
I thought it said V card for a minute. I'm thinking, whoa.
No. Remember the RB. So, but along with the Andretti rejection,
What's your take on that? I was about to ask you that.
well, because this was like an ongoing thing. In the back of my mind, I had a feeling they weren't going to, just because, well, one, Andretti, they were actually approved. They checked all the boxes for the FIA. It was F1 themselves that didn't want Andretti because of commercial reasons.
That's why they rejected him.
And also, their claims was they weren't going to be competitive.
That's
Well,
another reason.
you
too
don't
why
know
I would.
that.
But like I've literally mentioned, they have teams like Williams and Haas's abysmal 2021 season, and they say Andretti's not going to be competitive.
Well, at least, well, with the new owners at Williams, they're actually willing to invest. I mean, they have stepped up somewhat than they were
2 years
before.
ago.
So, yeah.
Especially in 2021.
Yeah.
Especially 2020. But regarding this new, it's still relatively new because it's only the third year in this new era of Formula One, you could say, with this ground effect
Yeah.
era.
Yeah.
Or the return of the ground effect era, but obviously with more modern, up-to-date cars to keep with the times, to keep with the modern times. They say that they reject I can't even talk, that they rejected Andretti because the anticipation of that team not being competitive. Yet you have Haas and Williams
Like I said,
on that boat.
Well, now,
How does that make sense?
well, I didn't mention this before. Well, Calvin, you probably knew Haas because they had like the NASCAR.
Yes.
I didn't even know. I didn't know
Stuart Haas to be
I didn't
more.
even know the name Haas till they entered F1. I was like, they actually make machines. Oh, okay.
And
But
it's
a name like Andretti, that is very well known in motorsports.
Yeah, I mean, Mario Andretti is
Well,
a
of
Formula
course.
One world champion himself.
Yep,
Let's not forget. So.
1978.
Yeah, even though, of course, Michael, his time was a relatively short in F1, but
because he was inconsistent.
he had fun.
At least that's my take on it. He wasn't consistent enough, despite that one podium finish in Monza. That's really it.
But he did, he has done a phenomenal job, having success in other categories
such as Indy.
besides F1. Yes.
Andretti also bought Spire Motorsports, which is just some
Oh,
random backmarker NASCAR team. It's not officially an Andretti name, so to speak, because the only thing that I know that is happening, Andretti sponsors will be appearing on the Spire Motorsports cars, like Gainbridge Insurance, just as an example. Andretti also has a Formula E team. I know you guys don't watch that. Let's be real. I am probably the only one in here that watches it, and I only watch it for the show.
seriously?
Oh yeah, that's why I watch it.
You told me that Sebastian Buemi has caused all sorts of shenanigans from what you told me.
But yeah, Sebastian Buemi last season costed his teammate the championship.
You told me that.
So thanks, Buemi. Yep. Buemi literally just drove over his front wing and costed Nick Cassidy, teammate, the championship. And tensions got so high that Cassidy left Envision Racing to jump over to Jaguar.
Sheesh. You know what that reminds me of to an extent?
Let me guess, 2007?
Well, there's that, but I was thinking of another year. 1989, when Senna and
talking
Frost
about
had their
Prost.
rivalry.
Oh, yeah, the infamous crash at Suzuka.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I watched the Senna movie back during lockdown too, so
Same.
yeah.
Although
It
I
was
watched
quite
it
unique.
before lockdown, but still. Banger documentary,
Yeah,
by
but
the way.
it's a little different compared to Senna versus Prost. I mean, you can make the argument that one costed the other the championship.
I mean,
but,
to your point, though, you said tensions got so high, the driver went to another team.
Cassidy left Envision to go to Jaguar.
In 1989.
Like I was.
Well, let me explain this real fast.
Yeah, but here's the
Tensions got-
catch too. Neither one of them won the title either. So
What?
yeah, neither one of them won the title. It was Jake Dennis from Andretti who won the title last season. So these two teammates collide, and neither one of them wins the title. So, sorry about the voice crack. So Formula E's championship decider last season in London, it was between Dennis, Cassidy, and let me just look at the points from last season. But I think it was just between Dennis and Cassidy, and Dennis was kind of further back in the field, so at the time it was Cassidy's advantage to go for it. He was running in third, Buemi was in second. He said, "Let me pass Buemi." The team denied the order. He goes around Buemi into turn two, and Buemi just clears him without looking, takes off his front wing, and next thing you know, you have your teammate in the garage, and you costed your teammate the title. So,
Which is an embarrassment of a look.
oh yeah, it's an absolute embarrassment. Because I mean, you watch these current Formula E races, and there's always some 5-car wreck taking place.
In every single race, pretty bad.
I wouldn't say every race, but you get the picture when I say that a lot of their races are shows.
And again,
Especially
Brandon, you only watch it for the interesting moments. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, then again, though, there are some teams and drivers that you'll at least recognize. Like I like Pascal Wehrlein, who drives for Porsche. You might obviously know him, but
Former Formula One driver, yes, I do.
Yeah, Sebastian Buemi, he drives in WEC outside of FE. Currently, the world champion from season 7 has returned to the sport. His name's Nick DeVries. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but
I do.
I'm being sarcastic. I think you know. And don't forget, there's everybody's favorite Formula 2 driver, Dan Tickdom. Dan Tickdom has already he's been like the sport for 2 seasons, and he's already causing incidents. Like he completely walled somebody NASCAR style at Monaco last year too, and when he got called out for it, he of course played the victim card because Tickdom.
You know, with stuff like that, at this point, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't.
I mean, Tictum is a giant child, if you really think about it, because you have, I don't know if you guys remember this, but he got released from Williams because he was singing a song that had the lyrics, Latifi is poo.
What?
Wait, are you
You didn't hear that?
No. No.
You didn't know this took place?
No.
Dave, you want me to do it, or do you want to do it?
You can do that.
Okay, so let's go back to 2020. Dan Tictum was released from the Red Bull Junior Academy because he was underperforming. Shocker, not really. So Williams jumped on this and they signed him to their junior academy. Flash forward to 2021, he's having a Call of Duty live stream for his Twitch account. And he starts singing on the Twitch stream, but he didn't want to get copyrighted. So what does he sing? He sings a remix of the Scooby-Doo intro where he goes, Scooby-Dooby-Doo, Latifi is poo. I think it's still uploaded on YouTube if you want to watch it. So
you know, anything that you upload to the internet, it doesn't go.
But also, speaking of Formula 2 drivers having incidents on Call of Duty, there was also Yuri Vips. I think we all know what happened. But however, Yuri Vips is actually recovering. He recently joined IndyCar for Ed Carpenter Racing. So come 2024, he's looking like going to be in a better position. But Dave, outside of F1, I don't know what other motorsports you keep up with, but there's in Formula E, like I was saying, a lot of the races end up being shit shows because it's almost like in an indoor karting league when you join one of those, everybody thinks they could win in either lap 1 or with 5 laps to go. That's almost what it feels like. I understand those OTL indoor karts are like based off of the Generation 1 e-car. So if you know how to drive those, you'll at least understand how to drive a Gen 1 Formula E car. But
I mean, it's pretty much how it was when I went to Supercharged the past weekend. So
yeah, yeah, don't go to Supercharged over the weekends because
no. If you want to go, it's better to go on weekdays.
Let me guess.
Yeah, weekdays.
I just haven't gone there yet, but on weekdays. But
either like right when they're about to close or like as soon as they open, like the first one in the doors. That's what I usually do.
Yeah, if you want to at least get there on the weekend, get there when they open.
I found out
after that it's going to be a long ass line. So.
I found out the quietest time of the day to go to those types of places, especially if they're in really populated areas where like everybody and their mom goes. Friday mornings are pretty quiet, so you at least will get in like some decent laps. We're getting slightly off topic here.
Before we close out the topic on Andretti, Brandon, what are your thoughts when you heard that F1 said that they would bring more value to Andretti than they were going to bring value to F1?
I thought they were full of shit. Because
I mean, in a way, I pretty much felt the same. I mean, what else does F1 need? I mean, everyone knows it now. I mean, they have tracks in Vegas, Miami, Texas. What else do they need?
I know I literally just talked about this, but F1 wants to capitalize on the fact that they're actually big in the United States again, and the biggest name in American racing comes over to them and they say, no, we don't like you. It just doesn't make any sense.
Which it doesn't.
Like, it's like being on the playground and you know when you were on the playground as a kid and you would say I need more people to play tag with me, and this one guy that you don't really like all that much, but you know he'll work with you, says, all right, I'll join in. You say, no, not you, somebody else. But then again, though, at the same time, who else is going to join? Because all of us know running an F1 team is not cheap. So
exactly.
I think personally, F1's more interested in going towards like car manufacturers joining in, which Andretti kind of did do when they asked Cadillac to be their backup.
I mean, he did bring one of like big names within the General Motor circle. So
Yeah, Cadillac.
what else can he do? I mean, also,
Dude, we're defending Cadillac so much in this podcast. Cadillac should consider sponsoring us. So
no, we're also defending Andretti himself because it doesn't make sense that they reject a team that is willing to, they also posted like a scale model of an F1 car. So
yeah,
they're willing
Cadillac
to.
on their official Instagram account. I should probably go on my phone and like find this, but Cadillac posted like just a blank F1 2022 car template.
Well, I mean, it's just like almost like a
put,
standard.
Yeah, like on the side of it, they put a Cadillac logo on it. But I think it was seriously just ridiculous to reject them. But
yeah, they rather reject a team that's willing to invest to be in F1, but they rather keep another US team that doesn't want to and just going to just be on the grid just to collect money.
In the case of Haas.
And especially there was that rumor that F1, I mean, I wouldn't entirely say rumor because they actually put in the bid to buy the licensing to the Formula One Chicago Grand Prix.
Oh no, we're going into that. Yeah, but
I mean, we all know if they come into the pits, they're going to end up on bricks afterwards. But
yeah. Well, the next topic we're going to talk about is we're going to start with the Madrid Grand Prix. So,
Brandon, you told me when we had this discussion on Instagram DMs. From what I can recall, you were not too pleased.
Guys, who asked for this? Like, seriously, who asked for this?
I certainly did not. I mean,
who has been waking up every single day and saying, "Man, I really want Madrid." Like, okay, street circuits are nice and all that if they're like on a calendar once in a while. Some of my favorite tracks in the world are street circuits. Some of them, but like, I really don't want the entire calendar being just street circuits. So,
that's also a discussion we're going to talk about. But why would they go to another like Spanish Grand Prix? I know Barcelona is not
they could have
the best, but I thought it was.
I wouldn't be upset.
I think the racing was a little better when they decided to take out or not use the chicane.
Thank God.
So I think it was a little better. I mean, I still like that track. Probably that's an old F1 fan that's coming out. So, but yeah, I did not think about them going to another part of Spain.
Well, in that nature, in that regard, when I saw that, I think there was a some sort of question that some Instagram reliable source feed posted, and it asked which circuit would you rather have the Spanish Grand Prix be held. So if we're gonna go around the room, me personally speaking, you ready to hear this?
Mm-hmm.
Bring the Spanish Grand Prix back to Jerez. Please.
I mean, it's not a horrible idea, but I got something even better. We should go to the Nürburgring and call it the German Grand Prix. That's just me though.
I mean, that's gotta be between F1 because they had that like battle or that situation when they both had German Grand Prix between the Nürburgring and Hockenheim.
Yeah, they had to switch them around every year.
Well, that was I think that was pretty good. Like when they went back and forth every other season,
which they did. They kind of did the same thing with the British Grand Prix, where they had it one year at Silverstone and the other at Brands Hatch. Which, if Silverstone gets taken off the count. God forbid it gets taken off the calendar of the British Grand Prix. I feel like it should be held again. Me being old school, bring it back to Brands Hatch. But Dave, go ahead. What you were saying?
Mhm.
Hey, if we're really gonna get, I don't know. Wait, did Dave's mic cut out or like?
No, I'm still here.
Oh,
We thought you.
sorry to interrupt. Dave, were you talking or?
No.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you really want to talk, old school, I have a proper suggestion that would help the United States expansion. Let's go back to Indianapolis because I mean,
I was about to say,
I
are you thinking of Indianapolis?
because I mean, the fans there, the track's there. They already have an FIA license. Maybe the legendary Turn 13 might not be. It's like 50-50, but obviously F1's not really that interested in Indianapolis. I think it'd be the best choice out of
I
all
think
of them. But
there was a reason as to why they're not interested to this
yeah,
day.
2005, I know.
You pretty much just took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, the 2005 U.S. Grand Prix was actually so bad that the at the time CART because keep in mind, if you really want to feel old, the 2005 United States Grand Prix took place like right in the middle, technically kind of towards the end, but during the U.S. Open wheel split, and CART, which was the other half of IndyCar that split. They offered people free seats to the Ohio or Cleveland Grand Prix that had a ticket to that race.
Would you believe me
So
if
if
I
you were
told
still,
you a few years ago I actually watched the full race of the 2005 Indianapolis Grand Prix?
Alex Smith told me that him and Dave Campos actually the night before Foxwoods, I believe. I could be wrong. You have to ask Dave because he knows more about it than me. They watched that race to help them go to sleep.
Dave, are you serious?
Yeah, because we already knew what's going to happen. So, like, it was.
Yeah, because at the
It's
time,
also like one of the most disgraceful races.
I remember
yeah,
once
because I
during the
mean, at the
broadcast,
time,
someone said it's not a race, it's a farce.
I mean, you guys should have watched Slap Shoes videos on the subject because, I mean,
Already did.
to put this in today terms, I'm going to explain this to any like new F1 fans. Let's say we're at a track and but then again, we have to get into the whole like tire war. We'll just talk about the race. The tire war is a whole subject of its own. But
But that's more in the deep dive there. But
Exactly. Which
yeah,
again,
but
which that's a podcast for another time.
let's just say 6 out of the 10 teams on the grid can't race because they don't have the approved tires or the tires that could last more than 5 laps. So half the grid comes in before the race even starts and retires their car. And the only teams that are still standing are
Bridgestone runners.
Red Bull, McLaren, Toro Rosso, and I already said McLaren, Haas. And obviously, we know Max and Checo is going to run away with it. But the only thing that is up for grabs, though, that the rest of the cars were pushing for, even if they got lapped like 3 times, they were all pushing for that 3rd place spot that was eventually won by Thiago Monteiro in the real race. But
Thiago Montero.
did you know that Thiago, not only that was his only podium of that season, but he actually stayed in Indianapolis for hours after the race and just partied with his
You
team?
would have thought that he was the one that won the damn thing. Seriously.
Yeah, like you have, like if you actually go back and watch the podium, you have Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. They quite literally just take their equipment and they don't even spray the champagne. They just walk away.
That just goes to show how embarrassed they were. Seriously.
Yeah,
You could even see on the
that
podium
race.
celebration, the 2 Ferrari drivers didn't want to be there. Thiago Montero, who finished 3rd, was the one who celebrated the most. Again,
I
you would
mean,
have
then
thought
again, though, when
he
you're
was the
driving for a
one that
midfield
won the
team,
Grand
and
Prix.
you can't really blame him because when you have that opportunity and you're a midfielder team, and all of a sudden podium comes into play, and you've been working hard for that long, and all of a sudden you get your podium. Now, even if it was his only podium in his F1 career. I mean,
And
you gotta
Jordan's last
admit,
podium.
if his first and last podium, you gotta admit, I mean, it was nice to see. It's always nice to see like random midfielder teams on the podium. So
I mean, I wouldn't blame him. I would have done the same.
If you were in Tiago
Yeah.
Montero's shoes.
Right.
because let's keep in mind, in 2005, there were 3 competitive teams that were all fighting for the top spot. So
Mainly 2
You know,
in
there's
regards to 2005. Mainly 2 regarding McLaren
Yeah.
and Renault.
and I've heard this saying about third place before, like it might be the small step on the podium, but it's still a step on the podium.
That is true.
Mhm.
A podium is a podium. Podium is a podium.
That's
Now,
pretty much,
question
that's
is,
pretty much
we don't know who we don't know who will be on the podium when the Formula One circus goes to Dave. Madrid, was it?
Yes. Madrid, yes. But I guess
that's
that will,
years from now. I mean, it's kind of like
yeah.
like talking about Las Vegas back in like 2022 or 20.
Question is when they
Uh,
go to Madrid and when they go to Madrid, when they go I can't even talk. When they go to Madrid, who will be on the podium then?
That's
I
also gonna
mean,
come with
again,
regulation change. So
I mean, I think they did have a track layout. We don't know if it's going to change. When they had
I
Vegas,
watched
they
the freaking.
they
I'm sorry
changed
to
a little
interrupt.
of it. What
I'm
was
sorry
that?
to interrupt, but I was watching the onboard lap at the Madrid circuit that Williams posted to their YouTube channel. Guys, it's literally just an oversized Formula E circuit. But sorry to cut
Seriously?
you off, Dave. Yep, watch it. You know what? I'm as a matter of fact, I am going to put the link in the group chat.
I think I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah, give me a second.
and,
I just gotta find it.
and also now I can't unsee the Vegas circuit. It looks like an upside down pig.
That's what it looks like.
And somebody said the Miami
Spider
circuit looks
pig,
like a
spider
gator.
pig.
Yeah.
But
In Abu
yeah, I don't
Dhabi,
know.
someone said it looked like a machine gun.
My lawyer has advised me not to give a joke right now. But all right. So I'm watching the Madrid onboard. I couldn't find the Williams one because I watched it on Instagram. Actually, I should have specified that, but I did find somebody at least posting the Madrid circuit to YouTube. So let me just go ahead. All right, copy. I don't want to. All right, copy.
While you're doing
And
that,
let me. Yep, there we go. I put it in the chat for you.
Dave, you also mentioned and wrote down in the list that you have for this podcast episode, next to the Madrid Grand Prix, we have the rise of the street circuits. But regarding your
Yes.
take of the Madrid Grand Prix, thoughts, comments?
I hate it. I know I'm not
I
Dave.
mean,
I hate it.
no, I'd rather just stay at Barcelona. But again, like you said, the 1 year they did do testing at Jerez. That was the 1 year. But again, that would be like the FIA to, if it's up to their words. But I wouldn't mind going back there. But yeah, but I don't know what your guys' thought on these new tracks. They get like 10-year contracts, but we haven't raced on them yet. So I don't know.
Kinda like
Well,
Saudi
barely raced
Arabia.
on them at that.
Well, Good Par. I think that was that Jeddah. I mean,
And Qatar also got a 10-year contract now. Don't get
I
me
mean,
wrong, like Qatar is an okay circuit, but there's better suggestions. Like even Young M in South Korea would have been a better suggestion. I'm sorry, Qatar, but you know,
The
it's
South Korean circuit had so much potential.
that was
but it got
that's-
messed up by the event organizers too, and yeah, it was just not marketed well either. But let's also forget South Korea wasn't really. Formula One was into the country at the time. They wanted to expand their market, but they weren't really interested in Formula One. But then again, though, looking back now with the market that F1 has, I mean, they could probably try and pull it off in 2024 or 2025. But like I said, even if you go onto Google Earth, like right now, look at the circuit, it's just sitting in a field. And that was actually supposed to be an entire city too.
Which
I'm pretty sure it's
that was the
not.
plan.
Yeah,
pretty
they
sure
actually planned on building the circuit and then building like a city around the circuit.
Like, oh, and inside it too.
Yeah.
I'm
Again,
pretty sure
it
it's.
had so much potential.
Like, let me just go onto Google Earth right now. I'll actually screen share it to you guys what I'm exactly referring. All right. Okay. Earth, share my screen. All right. There we go. All right, I'm sharing my screen right now.
All right.
So look at this. Let me know when you guys can see my screen, but I don't know if you share our screens in the podcast when you upload it, but
I think it's only audio.
It's audio
but
only.
who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe the person can follow along, but I will describe. Now, the pit lane exit was complained about by multiple drivers back in like 2012 or 2011.
Mhm.
Mark Webber, he was leaving the pits and he got caught in the gravel trap, and that ended his race. So they kind of paved this whole section right here.
Right.
Right here, as I scroll down the second straight. Now, keep in mind, this was designed by Herman Tilke. So let me scroll out. So look, you got 2 straightaways, heavy braking zone, some snaily section, and an interesting final corner. That's just his trademark design. So now, like I said, I don't know what you guys think of the circuit design. I actually quite like it. I think it's unique and it'd be a fun circuit to drive on. But look at what's surrounding it. This is a grade 1 FIA circuit, and I scroll out, look, factory, there's just factories and rice fields around the circuit. It's not like it's in downtown Seoul where Formula E raced, and they have a huge market there already. But you know, it's unfortunately just like that for that market. Will they try again? Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, that's gonna be up to the organizers, but
Yeah.
I mean, that would be nice. It's just like you know, during the COVID, you know, they brought back some old tracks.
Imola, Nürburgring.
Yeah, Imola, Nürburgring, Turkey.
Turkey.
Turkey stayed on the calendar for a while too after that, which was nice to see.
I was very excited when they brought Turkey back.
Same.
Yeah, they brought it back for another season, which because Japan had ditched from the calendar. I preferably wanted Nürburgring, but that's just me.
Agreed. I agree with you on that boat. But what are the
Yeah,
chances
but,
of going with Dave Dave, what you wrote down next to Madrid Grand Prix? You put next to it
Yeah,
Rise of the Street Circuit.
yeah. It seems like I don't know why F1 wants to expand on street circuits. Like, are they trying to stimulate like Formula E? Because they mostly, right, Brandon? I think they mostly.
Well, Dave, you are actually right.
They do mostly drive primarily on
Formula E was built around the idea of street circuits only, which they didn't do their first like permanent built facility until 2021, I believe. But it is a street circuit racing only series.
Right. But it, you know, if they're gonna keep going to street circuits, you know, it's gonna be harder to like overtake, state like Monaco. But
And
you
where
know,
you qualify is going to dictate where you pretty much finish the race.
I mean, there's other street
Like,
circuits like Australia, Azerbaijan. Those ones they are, you know, they have more room, but they don't really seem like street tracks. They look like proper like racetrack.
Yeah, which I'd also mention this in at the end of March, Formula E is scheduled to actually go to a brand new circuit built in Tokyo, which kind of reminds me of Cars 2 for obvious reasons. Calvin, you were a 2000s kid, so you could probably you could probably know what I'm referencing to. But I think street circuits are definitely good for motorsports, but at the same time, there's a place where we draw the line.
In other words, there was a point where it becomes overdoing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And to your point, where what you said when they announced that F1 was going to Madrid to hold the Spanish Grand Prix, Brandon, like we mentioned earlier, you were not too pleased with that.
Yeah, it just makes no sense at all.
And Dave, you said that it doesn't make sense. You wish that the Spanish Grand Prix would be still held at the Circuit de Barcelona de Catalunya
Yes.
instead of Madrid.
Well, again, it's almost like Vegas. We haven't raced there. We don't know.
And then all of a sudden, like you said, they get these 10-year contracts out of nowhere.
Right. I mean, at least like 5 years is still long, but probably, I think new tracks should at least
Like
have
5 years is plenty of time to test out a
I would say
track.
I would put it like in the middle, at least like 3 years. But because we don't know how it is properly after maybe 2 seasons at that
Exactly.
track. Third year, if it's good, okay, then they can extend it probably
However long
maybe
they want.
5.
Give or take.
And then it's, again, when they do these new circuits, they're unproven, so we don't know if they're going to be good or not.
Exactly, because these circuits are new from the ground up. Most recent
Like
example, Las Vegas, which
yes,
we covered up in the we covered it up in the pilot and the 2023 F1 recap.
well, we didn't get Brandon's take on Vegas. I don't know how his thoughts were before we
I
got there.
stayed up until 3 a.m. Watch that.
Yeah, well, did you watch practice 1?
Oh,
I was in I forgot what time it was, but I could be wrong, but I think it took place around when. No, wait, it was 1 in the morning. I remember I was mentioning.
Well,
this
yeah,
to
because
Calvin.
But
obviously I saw that drain cover get completely ripped off because I remember in school the morning when that happened.
The cars were on track for like 10 minutes, and it was red flag, and that was it.
Yeah,
because Carlos Sainz hit the manhole.
I was talking to somebody in school about it, and I was also complaining about the fact that they were starting it at 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, keep in mind, this is in November. They could have even waited until like 5 o'clock local time, which for us would have been like 7 to 8 p.m. And they still could have had a Las Vegas night race, but they started the race at like midnight, 11 p.m. I remember.
And also, this was the only Grand Prix that was held. Well, for us, it would have been on a Saturday, but of course, for them, it would roll over into Sunday. But for us, we were watching on a Saturday, it was odd.
Yeah, it was a bit of an odd feeling, but just be glad the next morning you didn't have to wake up and have to be somewhere. So,
but overall, like, what was your thoughts before the Vegas Grand Prix?
Now,
what was your
like
expectations?
I felt like when I heard F1 and Las Vegas in the same sentence. Now we've known they've been trying to do something for years similar to it, but I was a bit skeptical because I didn't know how everything would figure out. We didn't know if it was going to be a shit show or not. Of course, it was going to start off, and we were going to get some sort of issues. The race, it's voice crack. The race itself, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't like a memorable race all season long. Similar to Miami and Madrid, if there were better options, I would definitely pick those. But I don't have a huge problem with them. Just like we literally just talked about 5 minutes ago, street circuits are great, but we have to draw the line somewhere.
But sometimes there are moments where street circuits were in the process of being held and built, but never come to fruition. Dave,
Yeah,
I don't
take
know if you.
the circuit in Weehawken Imperial down in Jersey City, which I usually pass through very often.
Look, I was about to say,
It
Dave,
was
you
it
remember
was
that? You remember that particular moment back in 2013 when it was first announced?
I was hoping, and of course,
But to give some context too, so they called it the New York Grand Prix, even though it was in New Jersey.
Which doesn't make any
But
sense, but
then
given
again,
up.
though, you would look over the river and see the New York City skyline. Um, it was originally because the New Jersey government didn't sign on to the deal that they were supposed to, and the whole idea was scrapped.
Because of that.
Yeah, pretty much. And the buildings for the pits, they were eventually turned into it's like some sort of mall, but on top of that, there's condos. You could probably look it up. I could be wrong though.
Dave, you said that you were anticipating for it to happen, but it never came to be.
yeah, because I was also talking to another friend of ours, Alex, because it was pretty much gonna be like in our backyard.
Alex Smith.
Yes, it, and that would have been like the closest because I guess the closest is either well for me either Texas or Canada. I've been to Texas, haven't been to Canada yet. So,
What about Miami?
I wanted
well,
to
I
go to
mean,
Miami
again,
because
that's still fairly new, but I guess
yeah,
Miami's okay. But
yeah, the first race in 2022 was actually supposed to take place on my birthday, but I looked at ticket prices and that immediately went out the window.
yeah, when they first posted for Miami, I also look at the pricing and I'm like, ooh, that's a little steep there. But it's not really compared to Vegas.
Because Vegas is
Those
twice as more. It's
those
double that.
were those prices were insane.
Vegas, I can still to this day barely wrap my head around it. Well over
And
a
it was
grand. We're talking here.
no, and also that it was funny that the tickets that weren't sold, they pretty much cut them. So the people that wasted their money, that sucked for them.
And especially if they don't get their refund.
Did you also see how many people were trying to like peek over the fence in Las Vegas to watch like the cars go around the track?
Seriously?
Yeah. I mean the camera people really got that.
God
Yeah,
damn.
I saw like on TikTok a bunch of different people that were like trying to peek over the fence, but they were hiring security staff to make sure people don't peek over and watch the race for free. God forbid, because F1 and Las Vegas at the same time too.
Yeah,
Um,
especially the bridge.
Yes,
You can't
which
stop
Dave,
there
we had
either.
they
this
also
discussion.
put up that giant billboard, but people kept like peeling down tape.
Yeah, it didn't sit well with the local residents of Vegas.
And don't even
So
get me started too. The one thing that they really messed up on that even a lot of the drivers agreed with, there was like that apartment building near the exit of the strip, I believe, but it's near the circuit. And they told the residents they needed to move their vehicles so they can make parking for the race, which even a lot of the drivers admitted like that's messed up.
Which it is. I agree with the drivers on that
Yeah.
one. You both agree on
mhm.
that as well?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
there was the list of things that they did wrong with Las Vegas goes on for a while. But
Well, when I know residents weren't happy when they removed the trees for the grandstands.
yeah, and now the strip looks brighter than usual.
Well,
If
on top of that, what about the racing product?
okay, me personally, the actual racing, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good.
So you're saying not bad, but not great.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple like impressive passes actually, but unfortunately, impressive passes don't make up the racing product.
Dave, you agree or disagree?
I would pretty much agree. Yeah, it was okay. I mean, again, F1. Again, why did they schedule this late in the season when it was in November? So the one factor they didn't consider it was going to be cold.
And
Yeah, because in the desert it gets really cold at night. Like it's
Yeah,
blistering hot
they
during the
didn't
day,
think
and
of
at night
that.
it's really cold.
Yeah, they completely missed that. It was at night. It's going to be cold in November, and in the U.S. So, but overall it was okay. I think they moved it further up, so it's not going to be as cold. The first race is not always. It doesn't present the best, but we'll see. Uh, this let's see how it is this season. So
only time will
again,
tell if it's going to be good or an improvement or a step down. Only time will tell.
I mean, like I said, new tracks take at least 2 to 3 seasons to see if it's actually good. So
Which
we'll
is
see how this one and possibly for 26. But we'll also see how the cars look for the new regs.
with the new regulation change come 2026.
Yes, because
Well,
these
go ahead.
the cars are getting a little wider, so especially like street circuits.
And heavier.
Now, well, that, but you know, if they keep making them wider now for street circuits, it's gonna be hard for overtaking, but also they're gonna outgrow the older street circuits like Monaco.
Exactly. And
It's already tough as it is.
exactly. We're talking street circuits here. Y'all know the Macau street circuit.
It's
Well, that's pretty familiar, especially that one
it's like one of
infamous.
the bigger junior Formula races too.
Imagine
Brandon, you
if
remember
F1 went
that
that
one?
way to the street circuit. Imagine if F1 held a street race in Macau.
It's too small, and it's
No,
smaller than Monaco, and that's saying something.
Exactly. Exactly. And with that being said, it's you you can't pass. You can't pass.
Oh no, not at all.
Monaco, they
Brand,
say that you can't pass, but there are places where you can, such as coming
Yeah, but
out of
then
the
again,
tunnel,
though,
heading into the Norville chicane, going
I
into Saint
actually have
Devote,
an
or
argument for
sometimes going into
Monaco.
Mirabeau, or even sometimes if you dare, and if you're lucky enough, through the lowest hairpin. But what were you saying?
Yeah, I actually have an argument for Monaco, though, Calvin. So it's actually because of now, yes, Monaco is narrow. That's no secret. But at the same time, let's kind of look back and see how long F1 cars used to be. And if you watch the 2021 Formula E race that took place around there, people were sending it left and right, even in the corners that normally in F1 you normally would not want to pass on.
I remember.
And don't forget too, the Formula E race at Monaco was won on the last lap. Let me repeat that: a Monaco race win on the last lap.
That's something you don't
So
see often
you
on
could make
Monaco and F1.
you, but well, that's because it's Formula E, not F1. And don't forget the cars are all equal.
And that too.
Yeah.
Well, we're going the F1 cars and Formula E cars, much different cars in that respect. Well, speaking of cars, Dave, another thing on the list that you wrote down. Thoughts on the cars that were unveiled so far, again, as of this recording, February 9th, 2024. Our thoughts on the cars that were recently unveiled. While simultaneously, Dave, again, what you wrote down, exposed carbon.
Yes. So of course, well, McLaren was the first one to, post their renderings. Even before, they didn't even have their launch yet. Like I don't know well, I mean, the renderings, it looks pretty good. I mean, they got rid of the blue, so it's just black and
Orange.
papaya.
Papaya
So,
orange.
well, it's papaya for McLaren.
You know what I mean.
But yeah, but then you so then you have Williams. I mean, it looks I think it was a somewhat slightly darker than last year's, but somewhat similar. Um, then you have Stake F1.
AKA Sauber.
Right. And also, well, I'm not sure they can call themselves Stake F1 because I'm not sure if you heard, but Stake do not have licensing in Sweden where Sauber is based.
Then why
I
the
think it's
hell?
Italy, actually. Or Switzerland. Sorry, because Sauber is
Oh,
based
I'm
in
sorry.
Switzerland.
Yeah, but they don't
I know
have
we both messed that up.
that as well. But they don't have the licensing where Sauber is based. So I don't know how that they even got through with that without checking. But we do know that some races that prohibit gambling, which stake is, they would be called hick Sauber.
Which it is. That's what it's known
Right.
as.
I don't know what your guys' thoughts on the stake car, the black and green.
You know what I say? If we're going to change the name to Steak, consider again, I'm judging by the color of the car. Y'all might as well rename it to Sprite F1 Team. Again, judging by the green color.
He stole that from me.
Wasn't me.
I also want to make a prediction too, by the way. I had if we're still mentioning street circuits too, mark my words, in about 10, maybe 8 years from now, I think Washington DC is gonna be considered. I think they're probably gonna try something. I doubt they're gonna get like an actual race there in that time span, but I think they're gonna consider something.
You know,
Well,
given
F1,
F1's popularity here in the States, I won't be surprised if they do race in DC.
well, F1 did, try to trademark Chicago. So
Regarding
I don't know.
regarding the cars so far that have been launched, Dave, you mentioned Sauber and you mentioned
Hmm.
Williams, which is basically literally almost an identical paint scheme as last year's car. Well, it's similar, but
Um,
it's a bit different. I feel like with the paint scheme this year that Williams had approached with, the blue is a bit darker, but there are some parts of blue where it reminisces of the golden age of the team during the late 80s and in the early to mid 90s,
mhm.
late 90s, before they had the sponsor change. Again, before the sponsor change during that decade when they had the cigarette company Winfield, I believe it was called, in 1998. 1997
Mhm.
back to the 1980s when they had the Rhodesman cigarettes and the Pamel sponsorship. That's what I'm referring to. Because again, there are some parts of the Williams car this year, some parts are blue that reminisce of particular cars that Williams had ran in the late 80s, early to mid 90s. Another one,
Mhm.
Alpine.
Yeah. So Alpine. So people were somewhat excited because Alpine were teasing, parts of their car with like a camouflage pink. Again, Alpine is sponsored by BTW, so they're famous for their pink cars.
I wouldn't be
I mean, they
surprised if
do
they return
stand
that for
out.
the first couple of races again this year when the season starts up.
Yeah, so they announced or they showcase two different cars. One is pink, and one is the standard the
The primary
blue
team.
pink. Yeah, but
Wait,
the cars that were introduced already, it was like a common theme that there wasn't that like the cars didn't really stand out. Like you saw more exposed carbon. Well, we know that that paint does add a little bit of weight, but you know it will only probably give you like a tenth, maybe a little bit of performance, but not that much. So
Brandon, agreed or disagree?
Well, I mean, with all the liveries coming out, I think the carbon fiber trend is getting slightly out of hand. Huge thank you, though, to the guys that designed the livery for Toro Rosso, because I mentioned it's almost like they tried incorporating AlphaTauri and Toro Rosso in like one car, almost like the Taylor Swift Eras Tour of F1 liveries. But I don't really know exactly what to think, but I'll probably build up an opinion over time.
I'm calling it the Toro Rosso to keep it short and simple because it literally looks like that, judging by the livery.
It's the
I mean,
Eras Tour of liveries.
That's
I mean it is pretty much the exact same. They just change the sponsors.
and
Pretty
obviously the
much.
team name.
Because AlphaTauri is just a clothing brand, so. But
Haas. That's
Along
another
with
one too.
we have
What are your thoughts on the Haas car for this year?
I mean, looks nice. I think Haas is probably gonna have like another year of just picking up the last couple points. Now, I would love to see that first ever Haas podium. At the same time, though, they're gonna be under a constructor, so
I mean,
well,
or
they
not
were one
constructor.
spot
Sorry,
short
team
of a
principal.
podium in 2018 at the Austrian Grand Prix. To your
I don't
point,
know why I said constructor. I meant to say team principal.
well, the new appointed team principal, Komatsu, he did say that they're pretty much going to be 10th in the standings, which doesn't sound good.
which, in other words, it sounds worrying in the case of Haas.
I mean, as long as they don't repeat the 2021 season, I think they'll be all right. Because you know what was really weird about bringing in two new rookies in 2021? The fact that one year they had to learn a whole new car,
Mhm.
and then next year they had to learn a whole new car.
Whole F1 is a whole different ball game. That's all I gotta say about that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, until they realize that it's better to have at least a rookie and an experienced driver to at least balance it out. So, but
Exactly.
but they now learn that don't bring in two rookies
hmm
because we already seen.
Because we already seen what
yeah.
happened in 2021, 3 years ago.
Yeah,
We already seen what that was like. Again, as of this recording, we have yet to review the Aston Martin, the Ferrari, the Mercedes, and the Red Bull. Those, again, as of this recording, have yet to be unveiled to the public. But out of all the cars that have been unveiled so far, I'm asking you two this, so this is a question for you two both. Which car stands out the most so far?
Toro Rosso.
Toro Rosso definitely because it's the only painted car. Well, we don't know. This could be painted, but by Bahrain, they could be taking off some paint, but we don't know. At least it's painted, so but we'll have to see from till the first race.
And that first race will be in. But I still wonder though if Alpine will continue that trend in the first couple of races of their car being pink. Some people use that with Racing Point, if you remember.
I mean that's their agreement with BTW, so most likely yes, they will have to keep doing that.
There is another thing that Dave wrote down in the list, which is the last thing that we'll go over before we close off the session. Rumors. Science to Audi, which we touched on the Audi subject.
I've heard about that
And the
like a
biggest
couple months
one,
back.
the biggest one, as of right now, the biggest one, Christian Horner, more than likely to step down from his job.
Yeah, allegedly he sent a picture of his allegedly, keep in mind this is why I'm saying allegedly, he sent a picture of his pickle to a female coworker. And keep in mind, Christian Horner is married. He has a wife and 2 children. And I think I know when I say he sent a picture of his pickle to somebody. I think we all know what I'm referring to. So
yeah, well, yeah, and this was the allegations was from a female employee, as far as we know.
now it could go down as either A, just somebody making this up for attention. B, we could see Christian Horner getting booted because he sent a picture of his pickle to a female coworker.
I mean, there's also speculations that this was like a beef between Horner and Jos Verstappen, or Horner and Helmut Marko. But again, the investigation is ongoing. Christian Horner did have a hearing / meeting with Red Bull, but this will be ongoing because Red Bull is taking this seriously with an external investigator. So this could be going into possibly the first race. So we don't know what the fate of Christian Horner at the moment. But Brandon, do you think that Christian Horner can survive?
Now, we haven't seen any like concrete evidence of anything on either side of this fiasco. So as of right now, I think this is probably just going to be a situation that's just going to by. But over the next couple weeks, we'll probably see something at least come out, and maybe it'll lead to Christian Horner even getting the boot, which would be bad for Red Bull because Christian Horner has been there since their
the beginning,
debut.
2005.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I was still in my mom's womb.
I was a really young lad at that time, and
I was just young.
Dave, we've had this discussion. We've had this discussion before we record the session. Not only will this hinder Red Bull if by chance Horner does get booted, you told me that apparently Adrian Newey is not working for Red Bull, even though he's a designer.
Oh, your microphone cut out, I think.
Well, he was going to say that there's rumors that, I don't know, it's probably in his contract that if Horner decides to, leave or, whatever happens to him, Newey could also leave as well. Because there was also saying that apparently Newey is an independent contractor, so he's not really on Red Bull's payroll. But
even though he's a designer on the cars.
Right. And also he takes majority of the credits he does the designing. He does phenomenal job, and he does whatever he can. He does very well.
And he's been ever
But there
since
was
he
also
joined the F1 fleet as a designer way back in the day, and he's still going to this
yeah.
day. And as far as Red Bull is concerned, he's been designing cars for that team since 2007. So at this point, 17 years now.
Yeah, and I am 17, so that's saying how it's been. So
And that's saying something too.
Now, what do you think the rumor is that because that this wasn't the first time, but Dewey has been approached by Ferrari like 3 times. So
2015.
there could
Wasn't it
be
2015 that one of the years that he was approached by Ferrari? Or
I
was it
believe so.
I
2016?
believe so. There's 3 occasions, and I think just before Newey decided to stay at Red Bull, I think he was approached by Ferrari again.
Mhm.
When was
But
this?
this could Yeah, it was shortly before he announced that he was staying at Red Bull because I'm pretty sure like Mercedes tried to get him.
Imagine
But
Newey and Hamilton working together. Imagine that. But go ahead.
oh well, that like I said, there's rumors that if whatever happens to Horner, if he decides to get booted or he leaves, you know,
What you're
this
saying is
probably would be,
if Horner gets booted and gets terminated and leaves, you're saying the same will happen to Newey.
well, no, this would be an opportunity that I think Newey also would like to work with Ferrari if he got the chance. I think this would be a chance because I think he never worked with like the likes of like Alonso or Hamilton. This would be a good opportunity,
To
but
go
we don't.
to the
Again, it's rumors, but
That's what they are.
you
They're
know,
just rumors. Now you said
yeah, these just
we were going
rumors.
to
So
Ferrari. That's just a rumor. But as we know, it's obviously 100% confirmed that Hamilton is going to Ferrari next year.
that is confirmed. But what's going on with Horner and whatever what's going to be the fate of Red Bull's team now? But
If that does happen, again, if Hornet gets terminated, then Red Bull will be, in my opinion at least, back to square one. At least that's how I see it. Back to running in the midfield.
like well, the car's already is ready for this season, so I don't think anything's wrong. But I think they will whatever happens with Newey or Horner, that they will probably struggle when it comes to develop throughout the rest of the season.
Seriously though, imagine Newey going to Ferrari and working with Hamilton for the first time. Can you
Yeah,
imagine that for a second?
Now
Uh,
there was also there was also reports with Albon. There was reports that he got offered a 3-year contract from Red Bull.
I've heard about that.
But right, but then he announced that he was staying at Williams. Now another report has come out that Red Bull is offering Albon a first pick. Like he would be like the first pick for 26.
I've heard about that too. But what about Ricardo? What about him?
Again, if whatever happens to Horner, because we all know that Horner is the biggest fan of Ricardo.
That's
But
right. That's right.
if he goes, most likely Ricardo will stay at AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso. I'm not calling it whatever the weird name is. The ATM. Uh, I mean, they like him because he's good for sponsors.
I keep getting audio issues for some reason. I don't know why that is.
I mean,
Yep.
unless you want to cut it here because it's a bit past an hour 30.
R-
True, true. Which we're
I mean, we
calling
did.
5 things to discuss. What were you saying, Dave?
I said, yeah, we pretty much ticked off all the topics that we discussed.
And that you wrote down. We've checked them all off. What was the
Yes.
most in regarding you two, in your humble opinion, which was the most controversial topic in this episode?
I don't, not to be biased or anything, but probably when I
If you say
say,
Colton Herta,
I think, yeah,
I knew it.
that's because I'm biased. So
I'm pretty sure it's probably either between like the Madrid Grand Prix street tracks or Andretti, because those are
For
those are the
me
yeah.
personally, the biggest one, Hamilton going to Ferrari. No matter what media, social media, I can't even talk because it's that big. No matter what social media site you go on, no matter what news feed you go on, no matter what article you go on, when it was announced, it was, when I say it was everywhere, it was everywhere. And Brandon, you even said that that your phone was blowing up because of that.
dude, I threw my phone across the room. Like I
Uh,
was trying to
I
practice on
hope
iRacing, and next thing I know,
you didn't actually throw your phone across the room, did you?
I mean, I silenced that because that's how much my up.
Brandon, I don't blame you. I don't blame you in
Okay.
that sense.
So I'd suppose that's it.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Yes, that's it. To the next
Do you
one,
want to do your outro?
we'll probably either discuss, depending whenever we do this again, either the preseason testing results or predictions for 2024, and going over the rest of the paint schemes that have yet to be unveiled as of this recording. It's either going to be all in one podcast or some for the next podcast that we do and leave the other half for the next recording. That's the plan. And then sometime after that, we'll go over the 2023 recap. We're going to go backwards. And with that being said, we'll be going over and reviewing the 2022 Formula One season next. Again, whenever that will come to be. Dave, Brandon, final thoughts on our discussion on today's topics and discussions.
I mean, the first half we might have something to talk about, but I don't know about the second half.
What do you mean?
Because I mean, the first half it genuinely looked like it was going to be Leclerc and Verstappen battling to the end, but then in the middle of the season, Leclerc started choking.
I will not forget the French Grand Prix, though. I will not forget.
Yeah.
Brandon, I can only imagine your reaction of that moment. You know what moment I'm referring to.
No! That one.
Yes. Dave, same goes to you.
I mean, this was a very. I love doing these podcasts. You know, especially. Well, we try to stay on topic the best we can, but yeah, but yeah. I mean, whoever's listening, if you enjoyed it, you know, you can also rate us. We're on Spotify, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay, yeah. Rate us, and does Spotify have comments? I guess
What I've
I
checked,
don't know.
they do.
They do. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well,
For those who can't
whoever's
have access
listening,
to the podcast on Spotify, I have it uploaded on YouTube too. So there's that.
oh well, okay. Well, wherever you're listening to, either YouTube or Spotify, give us a thumbs up, rating. Also, comment what you think about it.
The more support, the better. That's what I say.
Yes.
The more support, the better. And for those listen, Alex Smith, if you're listening to this, we're getting you on.
We mentioned
No
your
ifs,
name quite
ands,
a few
or
times.
what?
We mentioned his name quite a few times.
It was more than a few times, bro.
We need to get him on.
That's what I'm saying. Again, Alex, if you're listening to this, no ifs, ands, or buts. We're making arrangements to get you on one of these. No ifs, ands, or buts. Nathan Lavender, Nathan, same thing with you too. Mateo, same thing. Alec, same thing. It would be,
We can occasionally have guests every once in a while.
or we all come together as one. All of us simultaneously. I mean, we've done it before after the that night almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Other than that, whenever that will be, time will tell. As we will end it on that note, since again we've got 1, 2, 3. I have the list up. 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4.
Yeah,
We've covered up what Dave, what you've wrote down. So that being said, we will end it on this note, and especially considering that my computer is about to die since it's on a low battery. That being said, again, this is where we'll end the 4th installment of the Turn 4 Sparks, episode 4 of Turn 4 Sparks controversy. I just realized that. But back to what I was saying, this pretty much concludes the 4th episode of Turn 4 Sparks controversy. And boy, we've covered up 5 things that have kept people talking, even again, as this recording, February 9th. They'll probably even still be talking when this is up and uploaded. But Brandon, Dave, like I've said numerous times at this rate, we've covered up the 5 things, Dave, that you wrote on your your phone on your phone notes recently, and we've got those covered up. What I suggest, whenever you see controversial topics pop up, you might as well do the same thing, write them in the notes. Once you do, share it with me so we can discuss it. So you can do that part, and I would do my part in recording the session and uploading it to Spotify and YouTube for the listeners to listen.
Oh, I'm pretty sure there's going to be more controversy in the next few weeks.
Hence the name of this podcast.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to whatever news comes out.
Especially when we go over the Formula One seasons as we go down, especially 2021, 1990, 1989, especially those years specifically. Regarding the Ayrton Senna and 2007 as well, with the whole Spygate situation and the rivalry that Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton had when they were teammates at McLaren. Especially that one too. But again, those are stories for another time. Until then, I, Turn 4 Productions, signing off the mic as always. And until next time, and for the notice, peace out, stay safe, and have a good one. Dave, Brandon, if you have your final sayings, say them now before I end this recording.
Adios, amigos.
Until next time.